Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar about the layout editor. I would like to give just one more minute for every attendee to join, and then we can start with the webinar. Okay, I think that we can start with the webinar, and then the ones that didn't join can join when during the webinar. Well, in this webinar, we are going to be to speak about the latest update that we have at RatedPower, the layout editor, which was one of the tools that was more requested by our clients and was launched last month in January. And the idea will be to go through the slides and also go to RatedPower to see how can we interact with the layout with this new tool. Before starting, I would like to remind you that Pulse is back this year for its third edition. It will be in April, the 3rd and 4th of April. And Pulse is an event that is held by Rated Power, where you will be able to find hundreds of experts of the industry. And the early bird discount finishes this Friday. So if you are interested, I highly recommend you to visit the page and get your tickets. So in this webinar, I will be the speaker, of course. My name is Álvaro Pajares. I'm a product owner at Rated Power, where I've been working for the last 4.5 years. And now I'm working as a product owner for the team that is responsible of this new project of the layout editor. And in in today's talk, we will be following the following index. First, we will see a brief introduction of the tool, of what's this layout editor. Then we will go one by one reviewing what options do we have for editing structures, roads, and power stations. And last, we will just do a summary with a recap. So first of all, I would like to mention that Layout Editor is a new space that we will find in RatedPower, where we can start editing some of the key elements of the PV layout directly inside RatedPower without the need to go to an external tool. For this first version, we will be able to edit structures, roads, and power stations, and also the medium voltage power blocks. And also, we are providing tools for getting more the DC power that we would like to have in the design. For doing that, we also give the option for adding or deleting structures. We've thought of this new tool to be adapted for PV layouts. So all the tools, functionalities, capabilities that we have included in the tool are thought to streamline the process of editing the layout. So we will be able to take into account other elements, aligning elements to borders of the parcel, moving by distance, take into account all of these distances that we want to leave between elements in the plant and apply them in an easy way with the layout editor. We also want to ensure that the layout satisfies your requirements while you are editing it. So to do that, we've incorporated a tool for validating your design at any time to ensure that elements are correctly placed in the PV layout. And also we will bring you some real-time results, which will be related to power, to the rated power, peak power, and DC-AC ratio, as we will see now, in order to help you while editing these PV layouts. Finally, it's also worth mentioning that once we have edited the PV layout, we will be able to get all the documentation updated, results, electrical connections, energy production, topography, and so on will be adapted to the changes that we do. So we don't need to go back and forth with these changes, and all the documentation will be uh, automatically updated with the changes that we did to the layout. Finally, worth mentioning that this is the first tool that brings the possibility of editing or customizing a layout at RatedPower. So this is like a big improvement for us, as we will be able to also um, keep working on this tool. This is like the base, and we will be able to keep working to incorporate more things to the layout editor and bring even more value to it. So this will be how it looks. Now we will go directly to RatedPower to see it, but we can see that now we have a different space where we can see the layout with the elements that I just mentioned, and also some options for editing them, for editing structures, roads, and power stations. Here I have just as an example one PV layout that I ran before editing any of these elements, which is the one that we see here at the left side. And then what could be the result of a layout after editing this layout, which of course brings us more possibilities for customization. I added here, for example, vertical and horizontal roads, different structures alignments, power stations located in vertical, horizontal roads with different rotation angles. So with this tool, the idea is that you can do that by yourself and be able to get a more customized layout. So going to the first element that we can edit, let's go to customizing structures. Um, When customizing structures, we will be able to consider design constraints. As I mentioned before, we'll be able to take into account available areas, restricted areas, also the other elements, and at every moment take into account the distances that we want to leave between them. So to ensure that we are respecting the clearance distance, the distance between structures in the axial direction, that we are satisfying the distance that we want to leave between the available area and the structure, for example, we will be able to see that in the layout editor. Also, we'll be able to customize the medium voltage blocks. At any moment, we will also have information about the DC-AC ratio and the power associated to each of the power stations that we have installed. And also, we will be able to add or delete structures in order to get the desired DC power that we want to have in the design. Finally, same as I said before, we will be seeing the power KPIs, and we will be able to validate the design in real time while editing. So now I would like to go to the the software to RatedPower. I forgot to mention that if you have any questions, please leave them in the Q&A section. We will have like some time at the end of the presentation, around 15-20 minutes to answer them. So please feel free to add them in the Q&A section. Um, so now we are at RatedPower, and we see here all the designs that I created for this specific project. And we can see that now we have a new button here which says edit layout, and which will bring us to this new space of the layout editor. Also, if I clone or go to the results of some specific design, we'll see here at the top right corner how we can go from here to the layout editor. So let's go to the layout editor from this specific design. We'll see that here we see the space that I was showing to you before in the slides. And now we can start editing the layout. We'll see at the bottom toolbar that we have some options, general options for editing the layout. We will also have some results where we can see the results per power station, as I was mentioning, or also general values, and the space for the validations, where once we click on validate design, we will see if there are some things that we are not satisfying any requirements, such as I mentioned before, a structure out of the available area, one structure on top of another structure, things like that will be shown here if we find any while editing the design. So let's focus on structures and how to edit them. First thing that I would like to mention is that we can rotate the view according to one structure that we select. This will be helpful for rotated layouts or layouts that are rotated due to the UTM convergence. If we want to have the view more adapted to the structures, we can do that in an easy way. And now if I go to the structures tab, we can see that I can only add structures because I haven't selected any structures yet. So let's go and see how can we add structures with Layout Editor. We'll see always a message here explaining what we need to do to perform the action that we have selected. And here the first thing that we will need is define the medium voltage group for the structure that we are adding. So I will select, I want it to be to this group. Then we will need to select a reference element, a reference structure. And when we do it, some points will appear that will reflect the distance that we need to leave to ensure that we are respecting the clearance distance or the distance between structures in the axial direction. I will click on this point and we can start adding structures. If I would like to add a parcel structure, we can do that also from here, from the options that we have. And we can start adding as many structures as we want. Then for any structure that we have in the layout, once we select them, we will see that all the options are now enabled. And also we can directly move them by dragging and dropping. We will see that in this case, they are being moved in an orthogonal way. They are keeping the clearance distance that they had between them. But if I unselect this option, we could do the same in a free way. So we could place structures wherever we want. I will leave them where they were. And let's go and see what happens when we want to align structures to setbacks. This option is thought to be for aligning structures to the setbacks that we want to leave between available or restricted areas and structures in this case. Once we click on this option, we'll see that some gray and black lines will appear. Gray lines will represent the distance that we defined in the initial design between structures and restricted areas or available areas. And the black lines will reflect the distance that we define between these elements and the fence, the minimum distance. So once I click on one of these lines, we will see that all structures will be moved. They will keep the internal distribution that they had between structures. And one of the structures will be moved to the maximum so that it leaves like the minimum distance that we define in this case between the restricted area and the structures. If I do the same but with the option of snapping to row, we'll see that row by row we will adapt the structures to its maximum and so maximize like the occupation of the space. If I validate the design at any moment, we will be able to see if the design is correct or not. If I will have placed structures out of the available area, we could see how we have blocker validations or warnings. Blocker validations are situations which will prevent us from generating a design, as in this case we have structures out of the available area, while warnings are situations which won't prevent us from generating a design, but we might be not respecting a setback or doing something like that. For the option of aligning to reference, I would like to go to these structures over here. We see that there's some space that could be used for placing these structures. And with the option of aligning to reference, here what we can do is take into account another element to take it to be used as the reference. And we will also consider the distances that we have defined between structures and that element in a way that we respect them. So now if I select the element that I want as reference, we'll see that some points will appear. And these points, as when adding structures, will reflect the distance between structures, the clearance distance in this case, and the distance between structures in the axial direction. When I click on the 2 points that I want to put together to be matched, we'll see that they are moved and we are satisfying these distances. Then the option for aligning uniformly will bring us the possibility of aligning a group of structures to a point that we define in a way that they are uniformly aligned. So if I click on this point, all these structures will be aligned considering that line as reference. Then we can also move structures in the axial direction by defining the distance that we want to move, and also on the pitch direction. So we do that directly defining the distance. Finally, I would like to show you how to edit the medium voltage group and also the impact that it will have in the KPIs. Here, if I select this structure, let's say, and I want to edit the MV group, and now I want that they are connected to this power station, we can do that by just changing the MV group from here. If I go to the results, we can also sort power stations by DC-AC ratio, rated power, or peak power. And when applying the changes, we will see how the power station to which I added these structures is now more overloaded, and the one from which I subtracted them has a lower DC-AC ratio. It's not that low because I added also some structures. If I delete the ones that I created, now it's also considered when seeing the DC-AC ratio. This will be quite interesting to ensure that we have a design which is correct not only from the positioning point of view, but also on how loaded inverters will be. And we can observe that from the DC-AC radio directly from here. Okay, so now I would like to go back to the slides and continue with the editing roads. As I mentioned, we can also edit the position of roads, and we will see here information which is similar to the one that we observed for structures. We can edit the roads considering design constraints, and we can create the roads as preferred. We can edit or delete existing roads, and we can also create new roads. And at any moment, we will be able to validate the design to ensure that the design is correct. So let's go back to layout editor, and now I will go to the road section. First, speaking about deleting vertices, we see that we have two options. We can delete them keeping the connection. So if I click on the nodes that I would like to delete, we will see that adjacent nodes will be connected, and so we won't lose like the integrity of the roads. If I click on removing the connection, for example, I would like to delete entirely these two roads that are connected to this node, I can do that by selecting the option of remove to connection. Then we will be able to draw new lines by clicking on the two vertices that I would like to connect. We'll see it right now. Or by adding vertices to the closest vertex, where a node will be added finding what's the closest vertex in the graph. or adding a vertex to an existing one, selecting the vertex to which I would like to add a new road. Finally, to move roads, we can do that freely by disabling this option and moving the road around. Using the orthogonal movement, we will respect also the direction of the road that we are moving. And finally, we can do that by aligning elements to aligning nodes to reference. If I do that and click on the reference element, we'll see that as before, some points will appear, which will reflect the distance that I wanted to leave between roads and structures in this case. When I move the node will be snapped to this point. If I do that also here, let's imagine this, and now I want to create a vertical road. We could do that by using the option to connect vertices, and a vertical road will be connected here. Same here, if I wanted to change the position of this horizontal road, we could move these structures by using the option for aligning to reference. And then I could just move these nodes, aligning them to reference points like this. I can delete the one in between. And now we can see how I changed this road to be at this row, and also created a vertical road in the center of the layout. Here, as before, we will have some validations that will let us know if we have roads located in places where they shouldn't, or also some warnings which won't prevent us from generating a design, as I mentioned. If I had placed this node out of the available area, I will have a blocker scenario here. So I will place it back. Finally, I would like to go to power stations and see what options we have. So now with power stations, we have, as before, the option of editing them considering design constraints. We will be able to see directly the MV block to which the power station is associated. So we could edit that and place it according to the MV block. And we can also rotate the power stations. So we can change the angle of rotation. We can place them parallel to structures, perpendicular to structures, or defining a custom angle. I will go back to RatedPower and see what we can do. So let's imagine that I would like these 3 power stations to be perpendicular to structures. I will use the option for rotating them and place them perpendicular to structure. And now I would like to align them with these structures. So I will select the structure that I want to have as reference, and then I can align them uniformly. So if I do it like that, the power stations will be moved, considering that point as reference. This could be useful also for, in this case, placing structures, partial structures, between power stations and other structures. I could do it that way. And try to improve the filling factor of the plant. Then the other options for power stations will be similar to the ones that we have for structures. We can align them to setbacks, align using reference points, or move them some meters in the axial or the pitch direction. So once we have performed these modifications to the layout, we will be able to validate the design and validate that it's correct, and then generate a design as I mentioned before. Once we click on generate the design, we will go to the results of the software, and this design will be launched in a normal way, let's say, generating all the documentation, energy production, and so on. So that was it about the options that we have for editing the elements within the new tool. As a recap, summarizing, layout editor opens the door for editability at RatedPower, and now we have the possibility of editing structures, roads, and power stations. We have also some tools which are thought for PV layouts, and the idea is to make the process of editing PV layouts smooth and ensure that the design requirements are met. Then we will have at any moment real-time power results, and finally documentation and other results are adapted to the changes that we do to the PV layout. Here we have another example of the design that we were just seeing with RatedPower, and how we went from the design that we have at the left side to the one that we have at the right side, where we can see different orientations of structures being adapted more to sub areas, and how all structures can be adapted to these sub areas, and also all the documentation that will be given for this design. I would like to go back to RatedPower one moment and see that from here. This was the initial design that we had, and this is the design that I generated by editing it, and we can see how it's completely different. This is the one that I just launched, and we can see how the road is now placed in a different position. Finally, I wanted to mention how important it is also balancing the power stations. I created two designs which look like mostly the same, but MV groups were slightly different. And it's important to pay attention to that in layout editor, so that we ensure that we are not having more losses due to the inverter power limit, and ensure we are getting the most out of the PV layout. We can see that this case had the balanced power stations, and this one had unbalanced power stations, not too much, but a bit. And we can see how it will impact the energy production in a noticeable way, also specific production, of course, and the LCOE, as the three of them are related to the energy production, and how we could go from, in this case, 5.58% of losses to, in this case, 7.01. Of course, both values could be lower, but in this case, one of them is much higher. And that was it about the presentation. I see that we already have some questions in the chat, so let's go and see them. I see one question that is related to when is this feature coming to Slovenia. This feature will be available for any region. If you go to the home tab, you will see here uh, how to gradually how to roll out to this new option, the layout editor, and also Prism, which was launched also for some specific European regions. And you can contact the sales representative or any person from the RatedPower to uh, give you access and to let you use this new tool. Um, I see that we have one question regarding if we can align the tables in diagonal, keeping a distance to the red line. So, okay, so I think that it's related to something similar to, sorry, to aligning to setbacks row by row. Here, the distance that we will be leaving in this case is 0, because I said that I didn't want to leave any distance between structures and the and the restricted area. And if I move them after performing this movement, we will be able to move the meters that we want and leave the distance that we want, in this case between the restricted area and the structures. We are thinking also like on having in the future like more options with this regard, which are not yet available. Things like uh, aligning structures to roads, or aligning structures to a line that we define in a custom way. But currently, we will be able to do that by aligning structures, snapping them to row, and then moving the distance that we want to leave between the restricted area and the structures. Also, one thing that we would like to have for the future is redefining these distances that we are considering here with the setbacks. So these lines are considering the distance that we defined previously in the initial design. So the idea will be that in the future to have that values customizable and be able to edit the meters that we had defined. Thank you for the question. I see another question which is related to if we can edit the type of a structure to use multiple types, for example, having trackers and fixed structures in the same design. It's something that we don't support currently for none of the two different flows, let's say, none for the layout editor and neither for the usual flow of RatedPower of defining inputs. Uh, but of course, we will have that into account for the future, and hopefully at some point we can cover that too. I see another question which is related to the fact that when adding a structure to a power station, whether it's possible to add the number of inverters if needed. Uh, this is something that actually, like in this design that I just created, might have happened. I have added more structures, and suddenly the DCAC ratio increased, and I would like to add more inverters so that I can balance this DCAC ratio and be more in line with the DCAC ratio that I wanted to have. It's something that we are currently working on. The idea will be to have it soon in the software. It's not available yet, but soon we expect to be able to edit the number of inverters per power station. Also, in the near future, we would like to incorporate options for adding or deleting power stations, which is kind of in the line with the question that you asked. I see another question, which is related to roads and the turning angle, and is whether there is a way to define the turning circle for the roads. It's something that it's not possible yet, as with the option for having trackers and fixed structures. It's something that we cannot do for neither of both flows in RatedPower. It's something that we have in mind for the future and that would like to incorporate, but it's not possible yet. Here with Layout Editor, what we could do in some way is try to create new nodes and try to have like a kind of circle, but it's not like done in an automatic way. We could do something like this, creating new nodes, but it's not possible as a feature. I see another question which is related to whether it's possible to edit the medium voltage routing here in the layout editor, the route that connect the power stations with the main connection point. It's not possible yet. Currently, once we generate the design, we will automatically recalculate LB wiring and MB wiring. So we will recalculate all of these connections these electrical connections that happen in the PV layout. But again, it's something that we want to work in the future. This is like the first version of the layout editor. We want to keep working on it and bringing even more value to the tool. It's something that we have in mind for the future, but currently it's not possible. And so the medium voltage route will be recalculated when generating the design. I see one more question, which is related to the possibility of deleting entire power stations and their associated panels, which can be applicable for very large sites. It's something that we can do yet. It's as with editing the number of inverters per power station, as I just mentioned. It's something that we have in our roadmap and we want to tackle soon. Um, and yeah, in that case, we have like first this tool that will allow to edit the number of inverters per power station, and then at some point we want to also incorporate the possibility of deleting power stations, adding power stations, and of course, deleting panels will be something that we can do already. But if I delete all of these panels, for example, that they are associated to this power station, I will delete them. It's something that will prevent us from generating the design as the power station is empty. But once we incorporate the option for deleting power stations, the idea is to give also the possibility of deleting this power station and not only the panels associated to it. I see one more question, which is whether it's possible to tell the MV cables not to pass below the structures and just follow the roads. Here we are working actively now also on improving the MV routing for layouts which come from the layout editor. Here the idea will be to it's still like in a will be something automatically performed by RatedPower, but the idea is to take into account these type of requirements, like not having at all MV cables crossing structures, to try to maximize uh, the usage of roads to build these MV cables, but also to consider cases like, for example, this one. Let's imagine that um, for some reason I want to have the power station in a position which is kind of isolated, to try to bring a solution which doesn't cross structures, doesn't go out of the available area, and finds a way of being connected to other power stations and to the connection point, to the MV point. It's something that we are actively working on to improve this MV routing, but it will then be like a new option in which you can decide the strategy for MV cables, let's say, but more on an automatic way, but considering what you just mentioned. And I see one last question, which is related to uh, topography and whether it's recalculated when generating a design or not, and how could we get topography data while editing a design. So if I go back to this design which I edited, directly from the 3D map we can see that that topography data was recalculated. So from here we see that the structures are positioned where with its new position, the place in the place where we define them from the layout editor. Also, the documentation related to topography will be adapted in the same way. So we will find in the topography analysis any restrictions that we might have defined. The 3D layout will be also adapted, 3D scene, and so on. And currently what we will do is perform the same topography analysis that we had defined at the beginning and bring that to the documentation. In the future, we would like to also bring that to layout editor and give you more information about topography, structures that are not satisfying the requirements that we had, and so on. So also that it's something that we would like to have for sure in RatedPower in the layout editor. I see another question related to the width of the road. Um, Currently, the width that we will support is the one that we had defined again in the initial design, the one that we define in the design process. Here we will be able to define different widths per available area, but currently we don't support yet an option for having different widths in the same roads layout, let's say. I see another question related to why it's not possible to close an edited design. It's possible to close it, and here we encourage you to clone. Sorry, it was like a mistake. To clone. Okay, so to clone an edited design is not possible yet. So when we start with the layout editor, some of the parameters uh, that will appear that will be used for the generation of the simulation will be the ones that were defined in the initial design. For example, energy losses or financial aspects and so on. Some others won't be that applicable, like the ones that we have in layout, but it's not possible now in layout editor, and it's something that we are now starting to work on to bring that possibility. And the idea is to bring you also the possibility of editing them from the layout editor. So currently is not an option, but hopefully soon you will be able to also edit from here, from the layout editor, some of the aspects that affect the simulation per se, and that are currently fixed considering the initial design. And well, we just have 1 minute left, and I see that there are like no more questions that I see. If you have any other questions, please let me know. You can send me an email or contact me with any questions that you may have, or also my colleagues from customer success. And well, I'm thank you for joining to this webinar. As I mentioned, this is like the first version that we launched for layout editor, so we will be actively working on it to improve. So of course, any feedback that you have about the tool, any other questions will be really helpful for us. So happy to hear that, and I hope that you like the webinar and that you find this new tool useful. So thank you very much.